we start, I've made a couple of errors. Now you might have noticed, and Kerri picked it up, she's very observant. I kept on calling her Nicola. There is a reason for this, and I officially explain. Nicola and Kerri have similar stories. That's Nicola Tennant, who's been on a couple of times. I've known Nicola a few years, and I know her story. Both ran away from care homes. There is an age difference, but the age they ran away from is almost similar. Kerri at 13, Nicola at 14. So I want to look at. And I made a big error. Maybe I'm going to see now. I'm worried about this. As I turned the recording off, I thought I caught when Kerri had said bye. No, I hadn't. I cut it off. So first, my apologies to Kerri for this. I'm going to send her a little email saying as I'm doing this, as I usually do the day before. And apologies to you. Listen to this one. You'll find it fantastic. Hello, welcome to the guest show. Today I'm quite honoured. I've got somebody who's famous here. We're all famous. All the people I've had on are famous. And all amazing people. And I know somebody said to me, I call everybody amazing, but they are. Number one, they have the courage to talk out about things. Number two, they come on here and they don't pay me anything, which I think is wrong, but we'll worry about that. So today I've got Kerri Douglas. A quick intro to what I know about Kerri is she was homeless at a very young age, which interests me. She now goes around the country talking about the situation, and she's published a book called From Gutter to Glory. And as a writer, people talk about writing. Writing's hard work. It's not easy. So I really admire that. Thank you for coming, Kerri.
No worries. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. It's been a long time coming, isn't
Yeah, it has been, but we won't talk about that.
it?
Why don't you tell us your background? What happened? How did you end up being homeless?
So I was a kid in care, bouncing off the walls because nobody cared. Care meaning the operative word. You know what I mean? So yeah, just the statistic kid in care, really running away from placement. Found myself running away up the West End of London when I was 13 and started sleeping rough under Charing Cross train station. And I felt like I gelled with the community there. Like they understood me, like I understood them. It was we were all the same sort of thing, and it just felt fitting. It just felt like it was where I was meant to be.
Interesting point to say where you were meant to be, but also you gelled. Now I know, but unlike you and most homeless people, when I stepped on the street, I went somewhere I was by myself because I'm used to being by myself.
Mm.
Do you think you were protected by the community when you were down
Yeah, and no. I mean, there were a lot of people there that did look out for me. Like I used to call them my street brothers and stuff, but there were also people that were predators as well. I
there?
was abused on the streets as well because of the fact that I was a young female. People took advantage of that. And a lot of the time, for when I was a chronic rough sleeper from the age of 19 to 24, I actually did stay on my own in Piccadilly. I felt more safe there. I was opposite Fortnum and Mason because it was the most like prestigious part of town. It was highly secure, cameras everywhere, police patrolling up and down Piccadilly all night. So I felt more safe in that way. I think by that point it was eye for an eye sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? You're all like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I know a bloke who he slept up more at Knightsbridge near the Hilton. And he told me there was a building site. He used to climb over at night time, sleep there for the few hours he was allowed to, then go away. And one thing I do know, an advantage of what I was sleeping on Fleet Street on a doorstep. It was just doorstep of bookies. I used to be a bookmaker, a betting shop
Okay.
maker, which was quite. But there I got a good night's sleep. I might
Yeah.
get there about 12. Did you feel you ever got a good night's sleep?
All the time. I did, apart from when I was being woken up by community support officers,
Mm,
that was a pain. I used to call them Avago heroes because it was like they were just paid to give us grief. It's like there was no support about them. They would just be like, you'd just be sat there minding your own business in your pitch, and they'd come and just be like, come on, move on, and just like giving you grief. I used to like have this thing where I used to just huddle up in my sleeping bag or my blanket and just put it over my head so that I was not suffocating myself, but so that I was like cocooned. And it used to put me to sleep. And I used to, and literally, I could sleep anywhere. I've slept through earthquakes and everything. Um, I can sleep anywhere. But yeah, it's really weird because now, even 15 years later, I can't sleep with the bed without the window open, or there's times I can't even sleep in a bed because I'm so used to sleeping on the floor or like dossing. I struggle in sleeping in a bed and in a
mm.
normal bedroom. It's really strange, but it all makes sense considering I was on the streets from like the age of 13. So it's mad really how it's.
Well, I wrote a play. Well, I was part of Cardboard Citizens, if you've heard of them.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
I've been an actor for them, and then we did years later. There was a writing group. I always had to choose a subject. I decided to write a play about a bloke, two guys in a hostel, and one of them actually could not sleep on the bed.
Yeah.
I knew a few guys who couldn't do that. I've slept in train corridors, side of mountains, everywhere. Never had any problem. So maybe that was my advantage. But you
Yeah.
said something that I was very interested. You used the phrase chronic rough sleeper. What do you mean by that?
Well, you've got different cases of homelessness, haven't you? And it's like you've got people who have the ability to find solutions very quickly, but then you've got people who don't know. It's not that they don't know how to find the solutions, it's just that they haven't been shown how to tap into finding the solutions. So I think, right. So according to Crisis and other charities like that have done research, 8 out of 10 people who sleep rough have got poor mental health.
Mm,
Okay, so with that comes chronic rough sleeping and addiction, or different ways of coping with the situation. I'm not saying that all rough sleep is complex. I'm not saying all complex cases of rough sleep are addicted. However, it is a high statistic, isn't it? So to me, a chronic rough sleeper is someone who doesn't engage with services, who not chooses, but doesn't agree. You've got to be really careful with this one, ain't you? Because
mm.
although it's not a choice for people to sleep rough, it's a lesser of two evils, right? This is my point. So when someone doesn't want to go into a hostel, there's a reason they don't want to go into a hostel, because they don't feel safe or able to maintain that temporary tenancy or whatever. When you come from severe trauma, in your head, you don't want to even broach the idea of putting yourself at risk again, and going into an environment where you don't feel safe. So therefore you stay on the streets in a doorway where you can feel safe, where you know that you've got police driving up and down the street every 5 minutes, so you're good. Does that make sense?
Well,
So
you reminded me of a friend. I'll call him a friend. I'm on the street, as you won't, as people will never meet him. His name was Scott Davy. He was Scottish. That's why I called him Scott Davy. That was my mind for him. People got nicknames. And he was what they call an entrenched rough sleeper, which is what you're talking about.
yeah.
And he'd tell me when he'd say to me something like, he won't use day sense, he uses handouts. And he
Yeah,
said the
but
street,
that now, aren't they?
sorry?
they're trying to ban all the whole day centres and, well, not so much day centres, but handouts and stuff like that. They're trying
They've
to.
been trying it for years.
It's not on. They shouldn't be doing that, I don't think.
It's like I'll show you a story. The Simons community, I know you have used them.
Yeah, I've heard of them. I haven't heard
Okay.
great things about them, to be fair.
Well, I got friendly with a couple of their outreach, their volunteers. They used to, I think it's Wednesday night, down there by the temple, got a sandwich and a
Okay.
cup of coffee. And I've got me sandwich, me coffee. Well, pumping, I'm not a soup person. Um, and I'm seeing this very posh looking woman watching us. And either side, there was these well suited people who I recognise were Bill, policeman. Those don't recognise the same. And I turned around to the volunteer Jazz and I said, "Who are they?" He said, "Well, she wants to stop us from coming down here. And so they're watching us." They never approach people. But one of my annoyances, and I think we agree on this one, is that all these experts talk about homelessness, but they've never spoken to a homeless person. They know the solution. So,
I think that's changing a lot now, though, in fairness. I
yeah.
think a lot of people are starting to stop and think, actually, we need to listen to the opinions of those that have been there.
Mm. Well, that's the reason for this podcast. I
Mm.
don't, I could talk about it.
I
And this
think there's
is,
definitely a platform there now.
well, this is the second incarnation. The first one, it was me talking most of the time because I have got a lot of knowledge about
Mm.
things. And the only guest I had was Matt Downey of Crisis, my friend Ross, who works for a major charity, and Nicola, who's been on a few times. She's created an app. That was it.
Mm.
Apart from it was me talking, and I thought, no, this is stupid. And I'm very pleased with the people who have come on, like yourself.
Yeah.
Pleased to share because it's. I used to go to Lincoln's Inn. If you've ever been there, and I
Oh,
like.
Lincoln's Inn. Yeah, 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 yeah. There's like the toilets in the middle by Covent
Yeah,
Garden.
yeah, yeah. I like a bet. As being a betting shop manager, I got very, very friendly with the manager there. I would tell him some of the situations, and he couldn't believe it. And I think that's what's got to be done more. I've got somebody else contact me now about that very thing.
Yeah.
So, how did you get off?
Um, Determination, I guess. I'd come to a point of live or die. I couldn't take any more of that hamster wheel of sleeping in the doorway, waking up, making money, go score, take the drugs, go back to the doorway, do the same again. Maybe sleep that night, maybe stay awake for a few days. And it was just a hamster wheel. I've got to point out the reason I was on that hamster wheel was because the hurt and the pain that I was feeling in here and the abandonment and rejection. Sorry, I point into my heart because this is just audio, isn't it? The pain I was feeling in my heart, and the head, like the abandonment, the rejection, the shame, and everything I was feeling in my brain. I just thought I need to block this out, and it's the only way. And that is the only thing that kept me going was the gear and the lifestyle. You know,
Yeah, I said with the what's called Tony the Addict, and Tony was. You were how old were you when you first got on the street?
I was 13 when I first started sleeping rough, but I didn't
Yeah,
start using really till I was 19.
and Tony was 11. And the reason he got into the gear is because somebody said it was a better way.
Yeah,
Do you agree
this
with that?
absolutely. It's a coping strategy. It's a
Mm.
coping. It takes it all away, like you're let down by every single person around you. You're written off because you're reacting to the fact that nobody gives a monkeys about you. So you're lashing out because you're just so hurt. The only way to mask that is to take substance, the drugs we're talking about is cocaine, like crack
Yeah.
cocaine and heroin. Now, bear in mind they are prescribed as painkillers by the doctor in terms of opiate and morphine. They're painkillers. They also take away the pain of emotion. Do you know what I mean? I'm not condoning it. I'm 15 years clean, but I'm not trying to normalize it either. But that's just how it is. It is what it is.
So you're now 40, isn't it? Am I correct?
I'll be 40 in a couple of months. Yeah.
So 39. So it's say 14 years of clean.
Well, I'm hitting my 16th year of recovery. So in
Good.
June, I'll have been clean 16 years.
How easy was it to, I'm going to use the word, wean yourself off the drugs or get off?
Right. So the thing is, right, I had the mentality, I had the mindset to get off it. So it's mind over matter,
Mm.
right? I done methadone at the time. So when I was getting off it, I was already off the gear because I'd already done the methadone. I was on the methadone.
Can you
And
explain what methadone is for people who don't know?
so methadone is a substitute for heroin prescribed by the doctor.
Mm.
And they put you on the prescription and then they wean you off as time goes by. The thing is with methadone, it's worse than heroin because it gets into your bones when you take it. So when you're trying to come off of methadone, it's a lot harder to come off of methadone than it is heroin. So I got out of prison. I was in prison. I've been in and out of prison for like petty little things, but this one was a no further action because I didn't do what was being said.
Mm.
Anyway, so when I got out, I had a little bit of a relapse. I was like, I can't do this. I got on a train, came up to Newcastle. I'd just been diagnosed with HIV. So I tried a hostel, that didn't work, and then I came up here, and then I just got clean for 5 months, and then but it was the methadone I was getting clean off of, so it was like one of the hardest things I've ever had to do because the pain and the restlessness and the sweats, it was like having COVID 2
Mm.
point constantly for about 6 weeks. Like it felt like about 6 months at the time. But then once you get over that initial and you start feeling better about yourself and motivated, it kind of just like every day, it's like 16 years ago, it's like, oh, I'm on day 16 now, I'm on day 17 now. But then now it's like I'm on year 16. Here we go. There's another year down on like under the belt sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? It gets easier as the years go by, but the temptation will always be there as well, though. Like even to this day, I still have dreams where I'm still an addict and stuff like that. But I've got a high that is better than any drug in the world, and that's my kids. It's like that's what completes me now. I'm very quickly into my recovery of getting off the gear. I moved into a hostel called Look Ahead Victoria. Now I know you know it, Ian, but like
Well, I went there when we did the tour.
yeah, so I was living in there. Now that was one of the worst places you could possibly try and get clean in because you had dealers there, you had users there, you had people that were trying to get clean in the SMU there, you had people that didn't even know addiction there. It was crazy, but there was 3 key workers and they were just incredible. They showed me so much love and made me feel like I was worthy again. And well, for the first time, even, never mind again, but made me feel like I deserved better than what I've been given. I mean, bearing in mind, I was severely neglected as a child, like before I went into care, and I was abused as a child before I went into care. And then I was just passed around to whoever would have me while I was in care. So I was kind of just like that disregarded little raggy doll sort of thing. So when I went in to Look Ahead Victoria and they showed me love and nurture, it sparked something in me that has now flourished into who I am today, without the support of them 3 ladies. And I still say it to this day. I'm meeting them on Friday. I can't wait to see them. We celebrate 16 years of work, like since we met and started working together.
Are they
But it's
still working in
unbelievable.
the field?
They're still in the field, but in different jobs. So one of
Mm.
them, Kath Sims, she's now works as one of the top managers in St Mungo's, and Lucy Watson, she works for SHP, and Leah now works, I think, for the local authority in like down in Barnet area. So yeah, they're all doing the same sort of work, but it's amazing because they are just incredible workers, and to have that sort of love and empathy, regardless of where you come from, they saw in me what I couldn't see, but then they showed me that person they could see. Does that make sense?
I'm trained as a counsellor. I mean, that's one of the things that saved me when on the street because I'm a loner,
Mm.
right? And one thing I do agree with you that everybody needs love.
This is it. Like, love is literally what makes the world go round. Without love,
Mm.
we are nothing. We are a hollow being. Do you know what I mean? It's like we need that love to motivate us, and without that, there is nothing
I'm
positive
gonna
inside
ask,
there.
I'm gonna ask you a favor, Kerry. When you meet these ladies, say I'd like to talk to them and bring them on.
Oh, well, do I let
This,
them know?
this sort of work is I'm ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to somebody who's a manager at SHP next week. Well, we're trying to arrange a meeting. And we don't
Mm.
realise it because I'll tell you, my hostel, I came back one evening, one of the staff who I didn't have much respect for, I thought he was a dickhead, I'll say, had thrown one of the residents down the stairs. We were all on the first floor,
No way.
and there is this thing that people need it, and you found those magic people. So I'm very happy.
They're, they're very rare within the support field because
Mm.
many support workers, they're trained to stick to policies and red tape, whereas, I mean, Kath, she's amazing. She loved me. She showed me that she weren't bothered about that red tape in the middle. She was going to let me know she weren't going nowhere. And when I slid down the door one side crying, she slid down the door crying for me. You know, that's the sort of love I'm talking about. That showed me that people care. You know, don't not pretend love, like, oh, you're right, love. I mean, proper emotion. Because when you strip it back, we're all human beings. We are all people, and in a different life, the shoe could be on the other foot. You know, it could be completely reverse roles. And how would it be then? How would you, that's why I'm one for always preaching about empathy. You know, how would you feel? It's like when your kids do stuff. Like I've got teenagers at the moment. They're driving me mental, mate. I'm telling you, I'm sick every time they go out the door because, like we were talking about before, knife crimes and bullying, cyberbullying, social media bullying, all of that jazz, because that's just the world we live in. But you know, it's just like, yeah, I've kind of lost my train of thought there. Sorry.
No, no, no. This is important because I'll tell you, I'll show you a story. I've shared it before. Uh, I trained as a counselor. I decided to become a psychotherapist. I only did one term. It's too expensive. It was going to work out, and I'm talking 30 odd years ago, £10,000 a year.
Wow.
Money. But I remember there was one about families. We did a weekend about families. And I have what they call an eidetic memory. I remember 80% what I see and hear. That's why I remember part of your story. We've had previous conversations because it was interesting me. If I'm interested, I'll know it.
Mm.
And out of those 18 people, I was the only person who could say both my parents loved me. And that is terrible to me,
Yeah.
and you're,
We shouldn't have kids if there's no love. That's where the foundation of having children should start, with love. You know,
yeah,
obviously money and time, but you know, without love, what is the point of bringing a child into a dark world if there isn't love in it?
well, I have a theory. Some people are natural parents because they're going to give love like you do. You're a natural parent.
Mm.
But there are other people, the child's a trophy. Oh, look, my little boy. I've seen it many times. And those are the people that shouldn't have children, in my view. So
Yeah,
let's go on to now. We're not going to talk about the book for a minute, because I know how hard work that writing is. You now go round giving talks about homelessness. Why?
because I care. Because, right, so when I was on the streets, right, pretty much towards the end of my time on the streets, I used to think if I ever get out of this, I'm going to do what I can to help stop others going through this. And I didn't realize what a promise I'd made to myself because one day I had to move to Wallasey for like reasons. I had to leave London and move to
Hmm.
live at Wallasey. And I was going to church and I started volunteering at a coffee shop. And I was just doing a lot of community work and helping the homeless and stuff like that, working with the church to help the homeless, blah, 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 and the community outreach. Then I started working for the Church of England. And then I got invited to speak on behalf of St Mungo's at the whole the what's it called? Heart of London Business Association.
Mm.
And you know what? I spoke, it was in 2017 or 18, I think. And I just felt for the first time I had where I was meant to be. And the strangest thing about it, right? And I tell you, it just felt like divine intervention, because that talk took place not even 200 meters away from the same place. I looked up to the sky and said, God, if you're real, get me out of this now. Very at the end of my days on the street, at the very pitch where I used to sleep. I used to sleep opposite, it's now a car place, but it used to be a bank called the Alliance in Leicester, opposite Fortnum and Masons on Piccadilly, and it's next to the National History. Is it National Art Gallery or the National Gallery?
In the National Art Gallery, I think.
Yeah, well, the talk was in the National Art Gallery. So, and when I got there, I just had one of those intense moments of like, sugar, what's going on? Like goosebumps everywhere, because I was stepping foot onto the same turf I slept in for so many years. And now I've done full circle. So it just made me feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing. I'm meant to be opening the eyes of the blind, because I was a very firm Christian at the time, evangelist and stuff like that. I'm still like a believer in God and a Christian and stuff, but I'm not so much as active as an evangelist. However, I just felt like that was my purpose. That's where I was meant to be, to reclaim those streets by starting to talk about it and opening the different perspective of, they're not just waste of space, they're not just junkies and tramps, they're human beings that have been let down in their lives by people and the government and the system, you know. That's what I wanted to do. And since then, it's just like a way has been paved. And then a year later, I got invited to Parliament for the first time, and then COVID, and then the second time, and then COVID happened, and it was like, oh, like everything just froze, and I got really disheartened. I was ready to give up, and then I thought, no, keep going. But I've seen a massive change. I started doing the CEO sleep out.
Wait, explain to our listeners.
Right. So the CEO sleep out is businesses and business leaders across the country that are putting themselves out there for one night. And I know it's only one night, right? But it's the gesture that I say. A lot of people are like, oh man, it's all right, you're doing that with your fancy watch and your fancy duck feather sleeping bag, etc. Right. But I tell you what, anyone will tell you, when I'm at a sleep out, people know I will make a comment about, if you've got an airbed, I'm coming popping it. That's not, I'll make sure that they know, how are you packing that up at 5 o'clock in the morning when the police are coming and moving you on, you know? So they are coming away with the realities, you know? They're not doing it to be poncy, sorry to say that word, but, you know, they're doing it because of the goodness of their heart. They want to understand from a place of empathy what it feels like and what they can do to be supportive and helping them not feel like that anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's such an amazing organisation. I'm so buzzing to be part of that charity, and I'm a lived experience ambassador with them, and it is just such an honour, because they are incredible, empathetic, compassionate business leaders that are doing this. I've not met one that's doing it for an ego boost, not yet.
I think what you're doing is amazing. Now, you know how I feel about sleep out. I'm not.
This is it. I was the same, Ian. You know, I used to think, I remember they had one in Covent Garden back in the day, the very first ever sleep out. I think it was Channel 4, celebs go homeless or something. I was livid. I was hanging about. I was only a teenager at the time. And I was there in Covent Garden when they're setting all the railings up and they're walking in with the fancy boxes of wine and all that jazz. And I remember saying to the lads, like, what are they taking the mick? Like, how much does it cost for that security railings? The amount of money they spent on setting that sleep out up could have gone to accommodation for 20 homeless people for 6 months. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, principles, you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for you. Right. So I really hated sleep outs for years. And then I got involved with this one. And, you know, completely opposite.
Okay, I'm going to say you've changed my mind in this period. Now, at this moment, I'm not. My mind can be changed very rarely. You have. My reason was because Willie Thorne, the snooker player, went out with them and he couldn't survive them. And he went out, he went back to his hotel. And you've now changed my mind about this. At some stage, I like to speak to them.
Mm.
This,
I think it's to be on comments like Bianca Robinson, she's the CEO of the CEO Sleep Out. But I think you have communicated with her on some comments and stuff on posts. But
this,
yeah, what they're
but I
doing is
haven't actually connected with her.
pardon.
I haven't connected with her. I can't.
Right.
I can't send. Okay, I'm. Thank God this podcast. The only thing I'm spending at the moment on the podcast is I pay the hosting fees and I pay Zoom,
Mm.
which I don't have to. In the future, what I want to do, and I'm looking at ways of funding it, is go around the country talking to people. Not just like this now. Like you're up in Wallasey, is it?
No, I'm in Newcastle now,
I've been to Newcastle once a while.
but you don't miss it.
I went there. I was in travel at the time. I was 19, so I'm 69 now, and it was because they opened the Holiday Inn there. They flew us down, and then I drank. I gave up drinking. When I was 21, and we were all expecting to get Newcastle Brownell. Me and this other bloke were the women. I don't know that, but me and him, we were looking forward to it, and they gave us Carlsberg Special Brew. We were so disappointed.
Oh gosh, you probably would have been rotten as well.
Yeah,
Cow's special, but you only need half a can of that. It's like rocket fuel, mate.
I used
When I
I used to
first come
drink.
in, that was my substitute. One can of Tennant Super or Special Brew at a night to help me sleep and get through like the worst part of the detoxing.
Mm.
Oh mate,
Well,
it's
I did.
rotten.
I when my younger, I worked the markets for a friend, and we had a guy who was on the street, Michael, fantastic guy. I did have a fight with him once. He went to hit a punter. He said he'd taken his beer. Michael was a total alcoholic, but I learned all the phrases from Michael. Skip and all that, and it was quite interesting. And I liked
Yeah.
it, apart from that time. Um, so we come to that, but now you decide to write a book, and as a writer, people talk to me about writing,
Yeah.
the hard work.
Do you know what, right? It was, I think the hardest part was staying consistent. I find it so easy to write. Writing is my ever since I was little, I used to walk home from school just dawdling through the park. It'd take me an hour to walk home for a 10-minute walk. But I used to just sing songs to myself, or I'd be like making up poems, or when I get home I'd be writing stories and stuff. I've always loved to write. So I found it quite easy to write it because I'm just telling my truth. I'm just speaking my
Mm.
story. What I've clearly struggled with is back there. I mean, bearing in mind, I wrote that book in 2016. I first published it on just e-version, but then in 2019, I think it was, when I'd been to Parliament, I revisited it. I was a little bit more educated, a little bit more grammar correct, however, not fully. So there are errors in that book that are not complete and amazing grammar. However, the story just powers the grammar, it just
Mm.
powers. So I'm not selling a grammatically correct book. I'm selling my story. But I'm not selling my story like I've always said. I mean, I sell it for £5 at the moment. I don't make nothing on that. Once I've paid for the book to get it posted, the printing, the cost and everything, I'm literally not even making £1 if I'm lucky.
Well, I know as we spoke, I said when we were speaking just before last week,
I'm
you mentioned.
really naughty. They're really naughty. They take 70%
Yeah,
Amazon.
yeah. And I know it's called Vanity Publishing, which is something like I used to only get published in. I do plays.
To be fair though, I've always said I'm not doing it because I want to make money from this. I'm doing it because I want to raise awareness. I want to unlock empathy and I want to unlock compassion. I have so many mentors and people in my life saying, you need to charge for your work. You need to charge for your time. You need to do this. And I'm like, but it's not why I'm doing it. The profit for me is seeing the eyes of someone like the look in someone's eyes change because of something I've said that's hit home that makes them think, oh, next time I see a homeless person, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this instead, or I'm going to treat them like this instead of like that. When I know that I've changed someone's mind towards homelessness for the good, that's enough payment in the world for me. Anything is a bonus from there.
Well, I'm going to unfortunately bring it to a close, but I want to say a few things, Nicola, to you. Keep
Kerri.
it, Kerri. Don't change your name again. Actually, I do think at some stage you should meet Nicola. You've
Okay.
got the stories. I know Nicola's story. Nicola's created this app. And maybe I'll arrange you both to meet or even come on here and both to talk about it. Because the problem is what I find, it's very easy to find men who are going to talk about homelessness, but not women
Mm.
and people. And yet there are. I'm going to share you another story. When I got off the street, there was this fun fair in Regent's Park. Yeah, and I met this woman, this girl, and we were going out, and I thought I'd take her to the fun fair. As we're walking through, all of a sudden, this black woman, right, who I know when I knew her in connections was pregnant, came out, and you could see she was more pregnant than ever. And I said, how are you? What's happening? Oh, I'm still out in the street. I said, what are you going to do about the baby? I'll have it out in the street.
Oh, gosh.
And
Bam.
And that is terrible to me. And I think that, that's one person. But it's what you said about finding the right people to trust, as you did with those three people. She
Yeah,
knows you trust.
but they had a way of letting me know that I could trust them
Mm,
because everybody's there, and the first instinct is, "Oh, go away, will you? You're just doing this because you want to get paid, mate." That's where your head ends up when you're on the streets.
mm,
And they just showed me, because I threw abuse at them ladies. I told them where to go. I told them F you, this, that, the other. And I had their lives, right? And then one day I realised I can push these as much as I can try, but they ain't going nowhere. And that's what clicked. That was what made the shift for me, knowing that there was nothing I could throw at these ladies that were going to make them give up on me like everybody else had. And to this day, 16 years later, they're still in my life right now. We're meeting on Friday, we're having a reunion, we're having a lunch, we're having a good catch up, and I can't bloody wait to see them. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just some people come into your life for a season, just for a little bit, and
mm.
then come into your life for a reason. And those three ladies, and we've all blessed each other immensely along the way, and it's just been an incredible journey. It's so always make sure that I give them a shout out, my dream team, because it was because of them three ladies and the work they done on me right at the beginning that helped me take away some core values to help me become who I am today.
Well, to finish it, I'm going to tell you a little. See, I said it in my interview. I studied it when I was about 30, so we're talking 40 years ago, Native American shamanism.
Yeah, you said, yeah.
And people would actually say, I've done all the rituals. I'd never call myself a shaman. I'm beginning. I've only done it 40 years. And
The journey.
there's one good lesson about it. Several good lessons. I learned how to confront fear. But the other one is that everybody you meet, whether you like them or not, will teach you a lesson. Today, Kerri, you've taught me a lesson.
Okay.
I'll put what I do at the end every day, I go over what I've done. And I'll probably realize more. But you spoke about your passion.
Hmm.
Will you do me a favour?
What's that?
Don't lose the passion.
Oh, I never will. I
Good.
never will.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh,
I'm, Excuse me,
right,
quickly die. But if you want a copy of Nicola's book,
Kerri.
Kerri's book, actually, Nicola's asked me to write her book, I've refused. Kerri's book,
Name right, yeah.
I'm going to put Kerri's email in the text, or you can email me. Plus, if you bought this, I've got more people coming on. I can't say when Kerri's edition will go up. I've got loads of people. I've got the CEO of the New Horizon Youth Club, as you know.
Oh, I was actually going to be meeting him on Friday. I'm going to be rescheduling. Yeah, I might look forward to meeting him.
And because there's 136,000 young people on the street under 24.
You know what it is, Ian? I used New Horizon Youth Club back in the day when I was back on the streets. Like they were open over Christmas as well, so we'd go from Crisis back to New Horizon in King's Cross, and then from King's Cross we'd go to Charing Cross and go to Connections.
Well, the only reason I know them is when I was acting on the Cardboard Citizens tour, we did a couple of gigs there.
Yeah.
So, and this podcast is about confronting these things, making you more aware. I'm not going to say we're going to be miracle workers. Like Kerri goes around talking about it, I go around this. If you find this interesting, email me at standupspeakoutuk@mail.com. I will add you to my mailing list because I've got some more incredible people coming. And once again, thank you very much, Kerri.
Thank you.